Hello, my name is Edwin here, and thank you for coming here. And tonight we're gonna do a little more, how I say, basic, like back to basic. A lot of these talks here at Crypto Hub are usually very techy, so tonight we want to get more basic knowledge here. So first of all, everything here I'm gonna present is, of course, not, I have to say it, financial advice. So it's just my opinion, and you can take it for what it is. So first of all here, this is some of the topics I'm gonna cover here tonight. Yeah. Okay, blockchain for beginners, an introduction and into the true power of blockchain. And this is like crypto versus fiat currency, and how does Bitcoin work? And also how to safely store your crypto. And I'm gonna talk about some second generation blockchain as well. And then we're gonna look into some industry trends and projects and some very basic trading tools. And then just some, perspective on the future of blockchain and how you can possibly get started. So first of all, who am I? So my name is Edwin. I'm 35 years old. I was born in Guatemala, and then I was adopted to Denmark, and I'm basically a Danish citizen. And I have also lived in both Germany and Portugal, and now I'm resident here in Malta. And I have worked in many working fields throughout my life, but basically notably is like automobile industry, hotel and hospitality, telemarketing, banking, and then also some startups. And for some academic background, I have been studying at Copenhagen Business School, where I did study business administration. However, I didn't graduate because I thought it was more fun to look at charts. And yes, this is also then, I have been involved in crypto since 2017, more professional, you can say. However, I did discover Bitcoin already when it came out. And then I was also a little bit involved with purchasing something on the dark web, maybe. Something, maybe no Silk Road. Yes. The first thing here I'm going to talk about here is like a fiat currency versus cryptocurrency. So first of all, fiat currency is what basically is the money issued by the government, and fiat basically means make it happen. And this is basically what they do. They just create it basically. So in that sense, it makes sense what is called fiat currencies. And then we have cryptocurrency as well here. And the difference is here, as you can see here, money, as you know, is like a medium of exchange. And cryptocurrency, in this sense, Bitcoin here, is also a digital medium of exchange. And fiat currency here is represented by bills and coins. And here, cryptocurrency is presented by private and public pieces of code. And in Bitcoin sense, there's a limited amount of them, 21. And in the fiat currency sense, basically they can just keep printing because it's not backed by anything, and like issued by government. And here, cryptocurrency is issued by like computers. And then you also have the difference where fiat currency is basically centralized and Bitcoin is decentralized. And then we have like the value is determined by market and regulation, and in the sense of Bitcoin with supply and demand. So here are some other key things I want to talk about when we talk about fiat currency and versus Bitcoin. And here, like fiat currencies is like controlled and centralized, controlled by centralized entities like private commercial banks and central banks. And big banks don't really care about regular people like us. And they also operate with something called fractional reserve banking, which basically means that every time you deposit some money in a bank, they are allowed to actually create like digital money in the system. So if you issue like $1,000 in a bank, they are allowed to just hold at 10% in many cases that as actually a reserve, and they can basically lend out the rest without actually having in their holdings. And then central banks also can just keep print money, which is basically also can lead to high inflation and has historically led to a decreasing in our purchasing power. And on the other hand here, in Bitcoin, the money creation is written in the software itself. And the network here is decentralized, so it means there's no need for intermediaries and central authorities. And also, I believe Bitcoin really empowers we the people, because it basically takes like the money creation back to we the people. And also, it has a big potential to bank the unbanked. For places like in Africa, for instance, it's really hard to get a bank account where there's way more cell phones in that area. So it's way more easy to get adapted to this new technology. So basically BTC here, in this case, historically, long term, I believe, can be a real hedge against this inflation here, plus the challenge, the creation of money and the monopoly on it. This chart here, I think, illustrates very well how you're losing purchasing power. So this graph basically showing from when the Fed was created back in in the 30s, like in 1930. That itself is a very interesting concept to look into, how that was even created and the powers that be. And then it shows how it's been declined in value throughout the years. Of course, through different events and so on, and I think it has happened. And and this is, I think, is a very powerful quote here. It was made by Henry Ford. It actually says, "It's well enough that the people of the nation do not understand our banking and monetary system. For if they did, I believe that there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning." And this is why also it's really there to me to talk about these matters here, because if people really knew how the money system works, no one will ever vote for it. With me, we will not have it. So that's why I'm very glad that we have Bitcoin right now, because now we actually have a real alternative. So yes, and this, of course, is an extreme case how inflation can go. So this is basically a $100 trillion note, which was issued in Zimbabwe. So this is they have the world record in inflation back then. So of course this doesn't is still not in place. It's not valid anymore. But this is just to illustrate how poor government can be run. Yes, and this is basically a logarithmic chart of Bitcoin. Goes back for all the way, I think it's like 2013, and then until a couple of days ago, where Bitcoin was at 51,000, and just see what happened to last couple of days. So basically, yeah, a lot of price action has happened, but it's just to, like I said here, illustrate how Bitcoin can long term be more a good hedge against these kind of things. Yeah. So I'm going to try to look a little more into how Bitcoin actually does work. It has this ticker symbol called BTC. And basically, the tech is called DLT, which is basically a digital letter of transaction, where it's duplicated and distributed across network or computers. And this is referred as the actual blockchain. And the blockchain is like a shared database secured through complex cryptographic and encoding algorithms, and where we have something called miners, where they validate a transaction through this concept called proof of work. And they are being rewarded in Bitcoin for it. And here also, like some other key points, is peer-to-peer system. Ownership here is actually securely in the cloud. It's open source. Everyone can participate. And I believe it's a democratic way to approach money and economics. And the true value here, I believe, lies in the decentralized protocol. Also here, Bitcoin are stored in a wallet where it contains a public key and a private key. And the private key is the one you will need to use to actually move the funds. And for OGs, they might know that this here is the Genesis block here from Satoshi, the first one. And BTC can be divided into smaller fractions. So it can have like 0.007 and then 1 BTC, which is called a Satoshi. And just here, and this is infographic also try to illustrate how actually Bitcoin works here. So we can put it down in 6 steps. So basically here, A wants to send to B down here, and it happens through this kind of thing. Oh, sorry, one here. So A want to send BTC to B, and this happens through this private and public key, and then those transactions here are grouped into and other confirm, like into other block into other transactions, and then they come along with something called a hash, and a hash is a kind of a fingerprint. And this fingerprint makes it unique. And then miners, they verify that this block is genuine. And this is done through this complex mathematical equation puzzle called proof of work. And then a reward is given to the first miner who solved this puzzle here. And this is what is called block reward. And this is where the new Bitcoin is minted. And yes, and then the verified transaction are then confirmed and added into the blockchain with this unique fingerprint. All right. So just to give you an illustration how this can look, this is from a mining farm here. So you can see it requires a lot of computer power to solve these puzzles here. When Bitcoin was started, basically, you can basically do it from a laptop back then, but today it's simply impossible. And this is another picture to just give you a concept picture of how big industry this really is, this Bitcoin mining here. Here is just a short timeline. I don't want to get too much into it right now here because it's just a short presentation, but basically it was started in 2008 with a white paper release. 2009 it got live. And then Pizza Day, I think, is a very interesting day because this was the first time Bitcoin was actually used in a real world case, where you saw that 2 pizzas was bought for 10,000 Bitcoin. So imagine how that is really expensive pizza, I must say. So it's crazy. And and then we also had a hack McGucks, really important event here. And the halving here was also quite key event here. And we have a halving coming up where it will also like halve the block size. And this also, of course, 2021, El Salvador was the first nation to declare Bitcoin as legal tender. And here, this is an illustration how you can store your crypto. And one thing is that is very important when we're talking about this is that if you don't have your private keys, then it's not your crypto. It's basically it. So if you're holding on an exchange, you do not basically own it. I mean, kind of you own it, but if something happens to the exchange, then you don't have access to it. You'll need to have that private key. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. Personally, I did lost some funds on a crypto exchange who went bankrupt and so on. And because I didn't hold my private keys, those funds was basically just lost. I mean, so it's very important. So I always suggest that if you don't plan to trade the crypto, put it in storage. And you can have this. Personally, I use the Ledger. And the Trezor is also really nice. And then there's also paper wallets. Also highly secure to have that. And then I also personally use this kind of thing, which is a YubiKey. So this is basically a 2FA. This one I use when I log into exchanges. Because then, at least from Binance, they say, so as long as you don't have a breach on your security part, then they will cover the funds being lost from the account. But if you lost your funds due to your own, not secure setup, then they will not cover it if you got hacked or someone broke into the account. But this 2FA YubiKey, it helps it because you will need to have that physically together with a code. So I think it's also another layer of security that is very good to have. And by the way, you can do this also for other stuff than just crypto. So in general, I think this is a very cool device to have security. And here are also just some quick 9 tips or to be aware of when we talk about crypto. Basically here, like, don't put all your eggs in one wallet, and just something to think about. And this is also very important. Always keep your backup, like have a backup. And of course, be aware of phishing and scams. There's a lot of scam going on in general, not only in crypto, obviously, but yes. And of course, keep your holdings private. And another thing, when you use crypto and you want to send funds, always check the address you are sending to. When you send crypto and you click send and it's the wrong address, in most cases, it's just bad luck. You lost your funds. These transactions are irreversible, so you need to really be aware of these kind of things here. So you can always just do a test a test to see if it's the receiving address is the correct one, or just in case. But yeah, better safe than sorry. Here I'm going to talk a little bit about second generation blockchain, and this is one, the main one here called Ethereum here. So basically this is just more than just a currency. I'll call it the next layer of the internet. So that's why it's also called Web 3. So you have Web 1, which basically is 95 internet, and then you have Web 2, beginning of 2005, when we start to also build apps with Facebook or these kind of applications that you are now used to. And crypto and all this kind of thing is the next layer, the next part of the internet phase. So, yeah, so Ethereum blockchain, the app platform, open source for smart contracts. So what is a smart contract? I have tried to illustrate it right here. So smart contract is basically a protocol where you can do these kind of things, where you can have a secured, autonomous, and accurate and interruption-free, trusted, cost-free, efficient performance of all kind. And you can also, like, if it's a bit abstract, I've tried to explain it in this case here. So if you imagine you have a vending machine, you probably know a vending machine. You put money in, and then you want to take off a chocolate bar or a berries, whatever, and then you get it. But basically here, it's the same, but you can just do a more complex thing than just buying a drink. You can put real assets on from the blockchain where it is controlled by the blockchain. So it opens a lot of opportunities for whole new business concept, many ways to interact without any intermediary, as long as you trust the protocol, like the smart contract. Here I have just mentioned some use cases where you can use these kind of applications here, also blockchain in general. I don't know if you guys have heard about the Internet of Things, and where you basically are merging these kind of things like devices with the internet. There is some project called like Enterprise City in Austin where they are building these smart cities basically, kind of Web 3 world basically, and some of them are powered by IOTA Foundation. Then you also have some opportunities with cold storage, Sidecoin, Filecoin, decentralized cloud base, so an alternative to Dropbox. And ICO was heavily used, especially in 2017 when I really got involved in crypto. I mean, there was ICOs all over the place. I know a lot of people, who lost a lot of money because basically you could just issue an ICO and then people would just fund it because it was crazy times. So, and it can also be used to conduct elections. Blockchain here, I believe that. That's something that could be interesting to look into. However, I will emphasize that I believe that it should always be done with in-person voting, of course, and with paper ballots. So in working together, I think it could be very, very useful. Then you can also look into this online music where there is actually projects where they are trying to bypass record labels and all platforms by issue this kind of the whole payment structure of it. The audio is a protocol that's working on these kind of solutions where you can get rid of the intermediaries. And then you also have NFTs, which probably you have heard about. Has been hype. It was quite a hype some years ago. And the most notable one is probably CryptoPunks and Bored Apes, which was sold for a crazy amount of money at its highest. And then you can also have decentralized video streaming, and where you can have like payments and all kinds of things. And there's a project called Replay who is actually working on this, and this is powered by Theta, which is a very interesting protocol, I believe. Then you also have options to have censor-free internet, like DDoS attack and so on, where you can utilize the power of blockchain, and this is done on some of these protocols here, Polygon and Ethereum and Silica. And then, of course, DeFi, which is a very, very promising idea, I think. However, I still believe it's very, very early. And yeah, you should really be careful how you get involved in this. But I see a lot of potential here as well. Then just some basic crypto trends I find very interesting here. DAO, as Ferris was explaining, I think this concept is really, really, really interesting when we talk blockchain. So yeah, decentralized autonomous organizations. And then of course the metaverse. The metaverse was also very, very hype some years ago. I still believe that this is going to be very, very big in the future. I have no doubt. However, it still needs to be built infrastructure. So it's going to take time before it really race off, I think, but I really think that when that time is coming, you're going to see a lot of things into that space. But again, I really believe it's still some years ahead, so it's not tomorrow. Then, of course, another one I found very, very interesting is this concept called RWA, which real world assets. So it's basically assets from the physical world, such as real estate, stock, commodities, represented on the blockchain. And actually, I learned here a couple of weeks ago that now there has been developed this first exchange with real world asset, where you can actually trade like you're trading a crypto or a stock, but in properties. Very, very interesting. And then, of course, then you also have this gamify, which is gaming, which is highly huge anyway, but mixed with some finance. So yeah, gamify and sociify, also quite new concept, where they are fusing DeFi concept with social media. Yes, so make crypto investing and trading simple by mastering these skills here. This is something I'm more personally involved in when we talk about crypto, more from the trading side, like from a technical aspect of it. So I wrote here, if you want to get involved, like controlling emotion, and emotion is a money killer. I'm going to tell you in a moment why I really believe that, because I've experienced myself. And if you want to also get involved, support and resistance, if that's something you have to learn, if you want to just know a little bit about trading and investing, then you need to understand support and resistance. Everything in trading is really built up on that. Also, when you look at indicators, everything. This is the most important thing. And it's relatively simple to understand, but to master it, of course, it takes some time. But yeah, it's very, very interesting here. And then I wrote here, basic understanding of charts and trends, indicators, and to have a strategy. And why I'm telling you this is very, very important, because I've been there where I didn't have any of these. And if you don't have any of these, then you're doomed to make a lot of mistakes and lose a lot of money, yeah, because then it's just by chance, So having a plan and mastering your emotions and understand basic charts can make a big difference. I'm just going to show you 2 charts here now. So basically here, if some of you remember this coin here called Verge, I was fortunate enough to get in here at that point, and I was relatively new when we talked trading part. So what happened here at the December bull run, it went all the way down, 2,422 in gains. But did I sell? No, because I thought it was going on forever. I mean, it would never stop. I mean, everything was going up. I have no plan. I have no control of emotion. I think everything was just an eternal right to whatever, to Mars or to infinity, man. Yeah, exactly. So no, so I didn't really utilize or capitalize of any of this, because I was too dumb and I was too greedy. So and this is another thing here. This is even pains me even a little more, because this one here is XRP. XRP is one of the first crypto I ever bought, and it goes back to again. And I bought it at this time here. I think it was in October like this. And back in the bull run, when everything was going up, we have an LCs and everything was just keep going up. It's like there's no ending here. So I got so impatient. Again, I lost control of emotion. I have no plan and so on. So what did I do? At this candle right here, I decided to sell my whole position, only to learn 2 days after what did happen. So this is just my loss again, but if like clearly the gains was even higher than this 626%. It was I think it was like 12 or 1300% like in a couple of days. Insane. But however, that's what I want to emphasize. Having a plan, try to understand the basic training could have avoided this. Then I would have capitalized on it. And yeah, so it is what it is. So just here some very, very basic trading strategies. Know if you are familiar with candlesticks here, but basically here is like a green and a close. If you're looking at charts, it's something to look at here. And this is another thing here, support and resistance here. So this is what I'm saying here, why this is so basic, but so important how when we talk about trading, because everything is built up on support and resistance here. So on this chart here, you see on this line 1 here, you see the price action is here, and then it falls into something called support, which basically there is a price that's supporting this here, and then it can fall all the way down here. But what is very interesting is in many, like support can turn into resistance and the opposite. So you have the support of prior action, it falls down, and it forms a new support line here. And then it has some range bound, goes up, but find resistance on previous support. And this is the same concept. And market works in this price range. And you can take this and look on every time frame. This is how the market operates, support and resistance. The same with the indicators. If you're an oscillator, especially then you can also look for these kind of patterns here. It's a little bit different with overlay, but it still is basic around support and resistance. And here I just want to show you just a little bit how it also just takes into the Bitcoin charts itself. This is the previous high, and basically here you can see how it is how the market works. This is on the daily chart. So, yeah. And then also it's very interesting here, market always moves in patterns, in seasons, where you can see here, the cheat sheet, what they call it. You have this kind of hope, optimism, belief, thrill, euphoria, and then you have the all the way down, and then it repeats itself, basically. And then if we can look here how it has actually taken into the Bitcoin chart itself. However, it's a bit old. You can still see the concept of this cheat sheet here, how the market works. And also for reference for more current price action here, it's taken into account here, all the way down here, and just for cover. So this is basically how market works. So just by learning this here, you can take a lot from it, and then, I mean, at least take it into consideration when you're trading these assets here. So then we also have something other called altcoins, and altcoins is all the other coins than Bitcoin. And altcoins have, of course, a big potential for higher ROI, but also the opposite. Like, so it's very volatile. And like I said, I never buy the dip here. Never buy the top. Only dumb money do that. So, and then also understand when we talk about these altcoins about supply and demand, BTC has a limit. And for instance, Dogecoin, it has unlimited. So of course, there's going to be like you always need to take that into consideration. Tokenomics is also very, very interesting, important to understand these kind of things. Like again, the correlation between coins in circulation and so on, and how they're distributed, and also hollow into the protocols. I mean, tokenomics is very, very important to look into. And then, of course, look into if you want to invest. If you're an investing coin, do they actually solve a problem? BTC, in my mind, obviously solve a problem. So if a coin, altcoins should be, have a long-term, use case, or like if it's just some hype and so on, always look on the more basic, like the fundamentals kind of thing. And of course, always do your own research. Yes, exactly. Yeah, some more few things to consider here. Consider whether this market is for you, volatility-wise, security risk, political aspect, and so on. And also ask yourself this question: are you an investor, day trader, swing trader, or hybrid trader? This is basically what I call myself, because I'm not like a day trader, or I'm a kind of investor, but I utilize the speed of crypto. That's why I call it kind of a hybrid. And also, good idea too, if you want to like get some knowledge, like go on Twitter, called X now, or Telegram, Discord. I mean, there's a lot of nice communities on these. I use these a lot. TradingView, of course, if you want to look more on the charts and so on. And also use for all user size rated coin market. I mean, there's so many, so I didn't want to put on like all of them on right here. And then what I say, use fundamentals to identify what to buy, and then USTA to identify when to buy. Again, sign up for exchanges or DeFi protocols that's aligned with your preferences on how you want to trade. And again, always prioritize your security. And again, avoid falling for get-rich schemes, rich quick schemes, and you will likely make mistakes, so accept them, but remember to learn from them. And then, like I said earlier also, but it's very important, have a plan, have a strategy, and also have an exit plan. And then trading is, my mind, 90% psychology and 10% skill. Because honestly, when we talk about trading and charting, everyone can learn it. It's not difficult, definitely not. But it's, of course, easier said than done because it's with feelings and so on. And emotion is a money killer. So I will 100% say to everyone, everyone can learn technical analysis. So, yeah. Here on the very ending here, I said here, Star Wars, the Empire Strikes Back. When I say the Empire, I mean the elite. And my point with this here is some thought of the future of crypto. Because what are we seeing here today, like in the political realms and so on, and in the central banks? They're talking about this central bank digital currency, which is basically they have realized that their system is broke. I mean, is deemed to collapse at some point. I mean, I find it hard to believe how it can survive. So they're probably going to transfer it into something CBDC, which is basically where they want to utilize the blockchain and use it for their own benefit. And if you have digged a little bit into some of the ideas of it, you will know that they have this kind of plan where they have basically the CBDC for all the regular people and the CBDC protocol for the elite. So they're just transferring into the same, just where they are in control, rather than us, well, we the people, like, or it's more like a living playing field, you can say. And again, what is also very interesting in the years to come is the regulation part. And I'm okay for regulation as long as it doesn't kill innovation. So let's hope for a right balance here. And this is also something very, very, very important here. The trilemma they call in the blockchain about decentralization, scalability, and security. Because it is a big problem right now. It hasn't been solved yet. So it's going to be very interesting how this is going to be solved and done throughout the years. So, yeah, that one is very, very important. Yes, and then how to get started here. I would say Crypto Hub here is a good place to get started here. It's a very, very vibrant community. People are very friendly. And you can always just talk with people. That's what I found. Not only here, but in the crypto space in general. Both when I was in Copenhagen, I've been in Germany also to some conference, and even in Portugal, and here, everywhere I've been talking with crypto people. And just not even like in crypto land, even when people is involved in crypto, they are this open-mindedness. So it's really a nice place to learn from. And in general, people coming here, they have really, good mindset, I think. So this is something I really appreciate. So yeah, and also as a part of this presentation, because we want to drive more adoption into the space by learn people how they can get involved. So I'm planning here to hold an extended presentation coming up here in March, and where we will learn some more basic, where some on-hands tool where people can get on-chain. Basically, they can get involved if they're interested in it. So it will be like a price on €23 for a 3-hour session where we can mingle and so on. And for that, I will also say that every Wednesday, I'm planning to be here every Wednesday, so I will also be available if people need some help with anything, of course, free of charge. So yeah, you're welcome to join if you or just approach me. And then here on the last here, if you have arrived late, so yeah. I asked myself this same question when I got involved in 2017, because, like I said earlier here, I was involved with crypto in a way back in 2014, but that was something called the Silk Road, and the Silk Road obviously got shut down and so on. I never looked into the technical aspect. So when I rediscovered crypto again for real, I keep asking myself, because then Bitcoin has already risen a lot from the all-time high, and say, did I am too late. To this, I'm going to have to say to you right now that fact is that less than 5% of the world's population is currently exposed to crypto. So yes, you are not super early, but you're not late either. So there is still possibilities and there's still good options here. So yes, with that note, I will say thanks for coming and join the revolution and take back the power and be your own bank. So thank you so much for your time.